Hello, and welcome to Get It Off Your Chest, the Funny Side of Breast Cancer podcast. We're recording here live in Tissy Towers. My name is Estelle Marr, and I'm joined by Twinkle Tits, also known as
Andrea Moulding. Good morning, Estelle.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I've just
You're
been
all right.
swimming. Yeah, so I'm sitting here with my frizzy hair, just a little bit wet. Thank God we don't put it on YouTube.
Yeah, well, at least it hasn't gone green with chlorine or
This is true.
chlorine or whatever it's called. Is it chlorine or chlorine? I'm never quite sure.
I don't know. The pool I go to is, let's say, it's seen better days. It's a little bit worn,
Oh, is
and the
it?
showers have one temperature, boiling hot or freezing cold, whichever, depending on what day you go.
I'm a bit funny about public swimming pools, to be perfectly honest with you. So good on you. I've got this germ thing going on, haven't I? So I'm the
Yeah,
same with
that's
hot
true.
tubs as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I
I
think hot
don't.
tubs are just a kind of pool of germs, really.
Oh, they just make
Yeah.
me feel bandy. All these people who go, oh yeah, we went to this lodge and we got a hot tub, and I'm like, oh God in heaven, God love you. Coming back with impetigo and all kinds.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what's been happening in your world this week?
Well, I've been to the cinema to see a horror film with my children, which absolutely terrified me. Last time I went to see Sinister, I ended up having to watch the Wham documentary at 2 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't sleep. I needed some pink leg warmers and Wham music to get me back in the land of the living.
Oh, I like horror movies. Probably my
Yeah,
favourite genre, actually. Yeah, I do
that's
love
because you're a hard scouser. Yeah.
it. Well, I only like paranormal ones. I don't like it when the blood starts and what have you. I don't like gore or slasher movies. I like, the spooky ones where they go,
Oh, do you?
something around the corner and stuff like that. Yeah, I like all them.
I saw The Shining when I was about 25 in London
Oh,
on
yeah.
my own, and I spent the whole night with everything like chairs against the door. I thought people were coming in to murder me. I hate horror films. I hate them. I'm going to see a rom-com next or a cartoon.
Just to balance your brain out, just to stop the
Exactly.
fears. Good. Well, this week what have I done? Oh, I'd finally finished my gallery trial.
Do you want to tell our listeners what the gallery trial is?
So the gallery trial is something that's been organised by the NHS, and I think it's in conjunction with the King's College in London. And basically what it is, it's a 3-year trial. So I have to go once a year. They take a shed load of blood off me, and they're doing this trial because they're looking into using a new blood test to see if it will help the NHS detect cancer early when they use it alongside, other cancer screening methods. So yeah, so they don't tell you if you've got cancer or anything like that. They just put your blood with 140,000 other people, I believe, are taking part in it. It's just about doing our little bit, isn't it? So I come out looking like Casper the Friendly Ghost, but
I tell you what,
What?
taking blood, even now, I find really, really stressful. So hats off to you. Because I
Why?
got phlebitis because I had chemo.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, like one of the nurses said, "Oh, your veins are being a bit naughty today." I said, "They're not being naughty, they're being full on fucking serial killers." You know, I hate blood being taken because my veins are naughty, apparently.
Naughty vein. Oh,
Naughty
well, don't
veins.
worry about it. I gave enough for the both of us, put it that way. What else have I been doing? I was in Spain over the weekend, come back on
Of course you
Monday.
were, darling. You're always
Also,
jetting off
darling.
somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, so me and a couple of pals off, we went to Spain. So yeah, probably that's why when they took the blood off me the following day, that I had a head on it.
Like a Nuki Brown.
Yeah. Yeah. Far too many cocktails. But no, I had a lovely weekend. Nice to switch
Yeah.
off for a bit. So yeah, we haven't got don't think I'm going away at all now for a
Yes, you
while.
are. You're going
Oh,
away with
am I?
me.
Oh,
Yes.
we are. Yeah.
Yes. We've got a fancy little cottage, haven't we, in the middle of nowhere? It's
Yeah,
a
Spain.
writer's retreat, darling.
Yes.
Yes, but
It's just us two.
it is, but we do have to actually do some writing this time.
I know the listeners out there are going, you've just come back from a writer's retreat because we heard about you kicking off on the yoga lady, but that was with 15 other people. So
We didn't
this
actually
one
do any
is
writing,
just,
did we?
well, you were supposed to. I was hosting the thing. I wasn't expecting to. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I said to Andrea, right, I'm holding myself away for a couple of days because I'm going to do some writing because I didn't manage to do any at the retreat because basically I was looking after you lot and fighting with the yoga people.
Yes.
And she's decided that she wants to come too because she didn't do enough herself while she was at the
Yes.
writers' retreat. She was too busy making friends, weren't
I
you?
was. I made friends and gone for lots of walks and drank lots of beer and champagne. And I don't care. But this time, like you've been very, very strict about 8 till 6 we write, and then we go to the pub.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I loved your kind of questions from Airbnb when you sent me a screenshot. I have one question. Not what time do you arrive, and all that. Do we have towels? It was is there a pub nearby?
That was simply because we needed to go somewhere to eat. That was all.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to kind of rustle up my cauliflower steak for you.
Are you on the cauliflower steaks?
I
Is
am.
this? Oh, go on. Why?
Yeah, well,
Why?
because my body's a temple. I go swimming twice a week. And now I've started trying to eat a lot less meat. And so I've been buying cauliflower and I've been experimenting with cauliflower steaks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they're
What do you
actually
mean?
all right.
Experimenting whether you like them or not.
Yes. I'm still working on that bit.
Oh God. I mean, I'm sorry for anybody out there, but cauliflower I just don't get. Cauliflower steaks, no, that's supposed to be meat. Cauliflower rice, no, that's supposed to be frickin' rice. It's
Yeah.
just people say it's the most versatile vegetable going. It's like it's the
Mm.
vilest as well. They're having
Well,
to do
there
all
is.
these fancy things to it to make it taste palatable.
Well, I actually did a really good one because we got given a Guinness board for Christmas about 3,000 years ago, which was for steaks, and you put this Guinness covering on it. What's it called? I don't know, whatever. And I did that on the cauliflower steak, and it was
Like a
awesome.
sauce.
It tasted. It's not a sauce. It's like a crusty thing. That
Oh,
makes it sound attractive.
like a powder rub thing.
Yes, yes. And I did
Yeah.
that all over the cauliflower steaks, and it was awesome. And yeah, so
Yeah, the
so
rub
you
will have been awesome. The steak underneath probably wasn't.
yeah, the rub was
Oh,
nice.
seriously though, let's see how long it takes you, babe.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be
Because,
back
you
to
know, as I recall with the writers' retreat that we've just recently been on, we were eating vegetarian food for 2 days. And let's just say the resort went through a lot of toilet roll that week, that weekend. Because I think there was actually only maybe one or two who were used to that kind of diet.
yeah.
And the rest of us, no, we were all sat there with bellies like Mr. Greedy from the Mr. Men range, just full of wind.
It was nice though, the food was really nice. And I
It's
would
beautiful.
be vegetarian if I could be asked. But it just takes so much cooking and stuff. So, what can I say? At least I'm trying with the cauliflower steaks. I'll be back to my Findus pancakes next
Yeah,
week.
but crispy pancakes and
Oh, I
spam.
love spam, bit of spam, yeah.
A bit of spam.
Yes.
Right then, today's guest is Ellyn Winters, and I believe she's winging her way in all the way from Canada. Is that right?
Yes, and I can hear the plane touching down now.
Hi, Ellyn. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, lovely to meet you. We've chatted on Instagram, but nice to see you in person.
Oh, it's really nice to
So-
see you guys too.
Where are you in the world?
I am in Waterloo, well, Cambridge, which is Waterloo region in Canada. So I'm about 80 kilometers outside of Toronto.
Oh,
Here is a
wow.
bit of a banana belt. We're surrounded by a lot of the Great Lakes, and so we don't get quite the same, cold and snow, but
yeah.
enough
That's
of
one
it.
thing I
Enough
do
of it.
like about Canada. You have distinct seasons, whereas Britain just has grey, and occasionally a nice day.
I have
Yeah.
a absolutely distorted view of Britain because anytime I've ever been to England, it's been absolutely gorgeous weather. Just
Really?
yeah. So yeah, I was in
God.
Brighton and it was like 30 degrees. I was up in Scotland in Dundee and Edinburgh and it was 30 degrees. They didn't know what to do with themselves. They were like,
I know, yeah, that's it.
I
know,
will
my
happily come
brother-
anytime.
My brother lived in Spain. His wife's Spanish, and me and Patrick, my partner, went over to Spain to see him. It wasn't even hot, and we can't stand. I'm really white, and so is he 'cause he's Irish. And my brother called him the Irish vampire. We called us both the Irish vampires because every time he's going, I'm melting. Every time we walked anywhere near.
So, thank you for coming on the show. We're really, really pleased
course.
to have you here. Could you just tell us a little about your cancer, what you had, your treatment,
Yep.
and where you are now?
Yep. I was diagnosed in March of 2022. So just rounded on my 2-year anniversary of diagnosis. And, 2 years ago, I was just sort of heading into things. In fact, April 6th was my biopsy day, which I then reclaimed last year and went to Amsterdam and did day drinking. So that was pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
I love Amsterdam.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. We loved it. And and I had multifocal cancer of the left breast. After surgery, it turned out I had a tumor that was largest one was 4.5 centimeters, which was shocking to me. No family history, and I was, old lady cancer, ER, PR positive, HER2 negative, and then opted for a double mastectomy. They couldn't save the breast, and I all the time they thought that there was no requirement for chemo because the lymph nodes felt and looked okay. Even like the surgeon called my husband after surgery and he said this, like he was looking at them and he said they looked healthy. But then they got to pathology and there was a little buggers that crept in there. And so I ended up with 12 weeks of chemo. Yeah, 12 weeks of chemo and then 15 rounds of radiation, really for preventative reasons. So I finished that in November 2022, and since
And
then
you're
we've
all right
been,
now.
as I say,
You're feeling
as far as I
okay?
know, touch wood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're looking absolutely fabulous, to be
For
honest.
our listeners at home, we have to say Ellyn is looking incredibly cool.
Yeah.
Especially compared to
Oh,
me, because I'm wearing a big woolly jumper. And
Yeah.
Ellen's sitting there.
yeah,
with
it's
a
my
fighter's
badass.
gauntlet.
It's my
Yeah.
badass look here
Yeah.
today.
Totally.
Plus,
Leather jacket.
plus, I also have straight hair for the first time in 2 years. I just had my hair cut this morning, so usually I look like a big woolly head.
Yeah, we were
girl.
talking earlier, weren't we, about chemo curls and what have you? But
Yeah, I didn't get chemo curls. I had curly hair like Estelle's, and then chemo made it go flat. So
It's just such a
funny.
magical mystery tour. It really is,
isn't
right?
it? What it
So,
does to your body. So, how important was humor to you?
Oh, incredibly important. I think that I have a black sense of humor at the best of times, and so you're so out of control in so many ways, and if you can't laugh at either your circumstances or or yourself along the way, I mean, I think that humor, a lot of wine and gin and tonics,
Yeah, that's a good
and
recipe.
exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get
and
out
exercise. I mean, to offset the gin and tonics. But yeah, I worked out a lot as well. And so I think that, those three things kind of got me.
I
through it.
didn't. I just lay on the settee being a blob and put on loads and loads of weight,
Yeah, everybody talks about everybody's like, oh, you're gonna lose all this weight during chemo. I'm like, no. In fact, I think I lost all my weight the first few weeks that I was diagnosed just out of stress, and then I porked it back on again.
Yeah, but as soon as you're on those steroids, you're reaching for the biscuit tin. My friends came up to see me. They drove all the way from Wales to come and see me, and they said, "Oh, do you think you'd be able to manage a little soup?" I'm like, "No, we're going to the Toby Carvery. We're having the full Carvery experience." And I just
I love it.
Stuffing, like Henry VIII throwing the bones behind me. Yeah, boys, I just loved them. I just ate for England. Yeah.
And now she's swimming at 7 o'clock every morning, trying to get rid of all that damage.
Ellyn, tell us about well, you mentioned on Instagram his love of cars.
Yes. So just to kind of back it up a bit, so when I got diagnosed, I decided I'd write a book. So it's called Flat Please. And so yeah, I tell this story in the book. My husband's a massive car freak. We've been married probably 30 years. He owns, I would say, he's owned hundreds of cars. He's in his British car phase right now. He's got 2 in inventory at the moment, and our neighbors all look at our driveway trying to figure out what's in inventory right now.
Is it like a car park?
Yeah, it is. It is. He's got 2 Land Rovers and a Jaguar, and then we've got a GTI, so a little spice of Germany in there. But it just they roll in and out, and he sells them and buys them all the time, and this is his thing. So yeah, so the story around the car thing was, he was really traumatized when I was diagnosed, but he was, manning up and coming to appointments. And so the day of my surgery, we show up and I'm getting prepped, and they've got my booties on and my hat and the IV in my arm and everything else. And they're literally putting me on the gurney to wheel me down the hall. And he says to me, I bought a car.
That was good timing, wasn't it?
Right. And he didn't even buy a different car. He bought the same one he already owned. And I'm pretty sure he just felt it was safe because I was tethered to an IV at this point.
Yeah.
Couldn't clock him. He just waited till I was just slightly out of arm's length reach before he broke this news to me.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah,
good luck. I bought a car.
Yeah. Yeah. See you on the other side.
I'll get pads on the seatbelts for when you come back.
Yeah, well, literally, yeah. It was, I always say maybe his car addiction's cheaper than having mistresses, but I'm not so sure. So.
That all depends on the mistress, I suppose, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, your husband features quite heavily in some of your stories, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean, he still lives here, as far as I know. So, yeah.
Does he live in his car?
There's been moments, believe me. He certainly lives in the garage. That was his retreat when I was going through all this. He spent a lot of time skulking around out there. It was pretty traumatic. I think he's still trying to get over what happened. So
it's hard for the men in our lives, but remember, we're the centre of attention for any men out there. It's always the women. But I'm only going to say this one word because I don't want to give the story away. But if I say to you jumpsuit,
oh yes,
would you like to tell our listeners about your jumpsuit decision?
So I love fashion. I've got a closet that is stacked full. I just love fashion, and I wasn't going to let this whole thing. I wasn't going to schlep around in sweatpants through this whole thing. So I used to dress up for chemo. Yeah. That was just kind of my thing. And I had 5 wigs that all had different names. So there was
you like Moira from Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, Schitt's Creek was a big, got me through that early few days. And so I had let's see, I had Suzette, I had Julia, Veronica, Mia, and then I had Agent 99. She was Agent 99 actually looks a lot like my hair does now. It's a very
I like Agent 99.
And I used to get up and I'd actually coordinate my wig with whatever I was wearing for the day. So it was kind of fun, and I like to dress up to go to chemo. So this one time, and I just wasn't thinking, I bought this new little cute jumpsuit off of Mango, and I was in chemo in the summertime. So, it was little spaghetti straps and things. I thought, oh, this is going to look great. And I had this pair of platform shoes on, and I forget which wig I was wearing that day, but Mia, I think it was Mia. Anyways, as you know, when you get to chemo and I don't know why I was thinking, and I forgot this, but they pump you full of all kinds of saline and fluids, right? And so you have to go pee a lot. Mm-hmm. And I was in a fairly small chemo suite. There's only one bathroom. And so, I'm, halfway through and suddenly I realize, oh my good God, I've got to go pee. And I get to the bathroom and I've got this jumpsuit on and I'm tethered by IV.
Oh God.
To, and the IV's in my hand. I didn't have a port,
and you've got to drag it with you, haven't you?
God.
Yeah.
Not only got to drag it with me, but then I've got to get the jumpsuit off.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out, how do I get the jumpsuit off and
Yeah.
down the line and not, pull the needle out of
Bad
my
enough
hand.
anyway, Ellen. Oh my God.
There were some gyrations. Yeah, there were some gyrations, but thank God thank God it didn't have sleeves. It just had a spaghetti strap. So I was kind of able to kind of loop it around the,
Yeah. But there was a lesson. There's a
Anyways.
lesson there, isn't there?
There's
For
a
our
lesson
listeners?
there. Yes, there
Yes,
is.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
For anybody who's listening in, do
Jumpsuits
not wear a
always look
jumpsuit.
fabulous, but you can't wear a jumpsuit in winter because when you strip off to go to the toilet, you're absolutely freezing your last
Right.
tit
Right.
off, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I remember wearing one and it was pure white. Thought it looked absolutely fabulous.
Look like Sheena Easton.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah,
So it
you
goes
probably
into
don't
the
remember her.
toilet.
No, I do.
And
I totally do.
the toilet floor was just absolutely covered in piss everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So I had to come back out, shout to my mate who came in with me, and I went, "You're going to have to hold all this jumpsuit." So she's got it all concertinaed in her hands while I backed up to the toilet so I could have a wee, so she could keep it all off the floor.
Well, and you get to a certain
Just like,
age, and when
why
you've got
did I
to go, you've got to go. Like
Yeah,
you don't have
exactly.
a lot of luxury of time to be like gyrating out of things, right? Or undoing, the little thingies
That's
underneath
it.
your
So
crotch
they
or
look
whatever.
great, but yeah,
Yeah.
the most practical thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I looked fabulous, but and then I just sort of elegantly slithered my way out of the bathroom.
So
and-
did you wear kind of tracksuit bottoms the next time and a sweatshirt?
Nope.
No?
I still
Or the
dressed
full
up.
ball
I
gown?
Nope, did not learn my lesson at all. Did not at all. I'm still
turn up like Jerome Collins in Dynasty.
Yeah.
and I have like I'll call them letrozole feet now. My hands and feet are like, arthritic because of the drugs. But I am absolutely defiant. I am not giving up my high heel shoes. And so, yeah.
Good girl. Yeah, that's what I like to hear.
You're a bit of a
Tell you what,
high heel.
when I wear flat shoes now, I get a sore back. I'm happier in high heels. I wore
Yeah.
them for that long. I do think I've done something to my spine because if I stay too long in flats, my back is killing me.
But Estelle, can I
yeah,
just
I think
remind you, Estelle, of when you did your book launch and you broke your shoes halfway through
Oh my God! So I did
the
the launch.
Q&A
Yeah, there's over
in front of
100
100
people there. She's the lovely Angie is doing the questions and I'm answering. And I looked absolutely gorgeous until the shoe started flapping around on my foot. It looked like it was trying to talk to somebody. And luckily enough, my sister was there who had a spare pair of shoes in her bag because she doesn't like wearing high heels. So she planned for when she left the pub to put these flat shoes on. So she gave me her heels and put a flat shoes on.
the best laid plans, right?
But yeah, it still didn't put me off wearing high heels. I just went out and bought more. Simple as that.
Yeah, exactly. Although I do feel like, Barbie's foot, now I have to kind of like artificially unbend it, either coming in or out of the
I know
shoe.
what
I'm
you
just like,
mean. Yeah. But seeing as you're supposed to look so fabulous, what's all this about the comment that the neighbor said?
oh yes. This is when I was in chemo. You think people will know better. It's the weird things that people will say to you when you're going through it, right? Everybody loves to tell you about either the aunt that just died of whatever you've got, right? That's always a favorite. Or, and I never like people saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I'm like, what are you sorry about? Like, But this neighbor, he lives around the corner, and I thought I looked pretty hale and hearty. Now I was bald at the time, definitely, but I was out and about. I was walking the dog. I did have a scarf on my head, and I had run into another set of neighbors. They were out front, and so we were chit-chatting. And this fellow wandered across the street, and they knew what was going on. And so they said, "How are you faring?" And I said, I was about midway through chemo at this point. I said, "I'm doing pretty well, I'm feeling pretty good." And so he came over and he said, "So what's going on?" And I said, "Well, I've got breast cancer." And he said, "Are you going to make it?"
See?
Yes, I have full intentions of making it. Thank you.
Now I'm going to drop dead any minute now. Hold your hands out and catch me.
The poor neighbors who were, standing watching this go down were just like, and trying to sort of backpedal. And then
Yeah.
he didn't stop. I said, I think I absolutely have full intentions of making it. And he says, oh, and I guess I feel bad, like, because his brother was not well and was dying of cancer. And he's like, oh, my brother's not going to make it. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm just going to carry on and keep walking the dog.
Got your husband to run him over in one of the cars.
Yeah.
You know,
Actually, I think I think my husband did give me a really good line when I came back and told him the story. He said, you should have said, well, I'm going to. I'm not sure you are. But yeah, it definitely went down down as things not to say to somebody,
Well, normally you get the other side where people go, you don't look sick enough to have cancer and all that kind of, where they, I don't know if they think it's a compliment, you know what I mean? But I've never heard of anybody being asked, are you gonna make
quite
it?
that. I'm just like,
that's just how
well, let me pull out my crystal ball.
You were saying that after your first chemo, you had a bit of a drink, didn't you?
Yeah. So, alcohol and me kind of go hand in hand. The day I found out I was going to have chemo, it was a bit of a surprise, as I say. And so I got into the gin and tonics, and they tasted pretty good, and they kept pouring. And it was summer here. And so we were sitting outside, and a friend of ours had been over. And so I'd had more than my share, and I passed out on the cushions outside on a settee that we have on our back porch. and my husband, I guess, had gone to bed, and he woke up in the middle of the night and he couldn't find me. And I was out sleeping, fully clothed.
Daylight outside.
Yeah. And
so what did that neighbor said? Are you going to make it?
He
probably won't.
Maybe that's what he meant. That's maybe what he meant. But yeah, I was sprawled out on this settee outside, having a great sleep with the two dogs curled up beside me. And my husband, I think he thought I'd bolted because he couldn't find me, and he thought I'd taken off. And then, so then I had my first chemo, and the doctor had said to me, look, you can have the odd glass of wine during chemo. And I interpreted that guidance a little liberally. And I had gotten together with two girlfriends of mine, one of whom I hadn't seen since before COVID. And we all got together, and one has a pool, and we were outside. And Ellen got into the wine, and perhaps it wasn't a glass, it might have been a bottle, or maybe a bottle and a half. Anyways, I think I may have passed out that night as well.
Which actually means it was at least two, doesn't it, Ellen?
I think so.
Yeah, you're talking to two very, very well-versed.
You're seasoned
here. So
okay, all right.
So you don't need to play it down with us.
Yeah, no, there was no playing it down. And so I then, you have to have your blood work done before chemo. So I went in and I had my blood work done. And it wasn't my oncologist, it was a GP oncologist. And she's like, oh, your liver levels are a little high, because chemo's processed through. And she's like, I'm pretty sure, it's probably the chemo taking a number on your liver. And I'm like, well, I may have had some alcohol. And she's like, oh, no, I think it's okay. She was being really gentle. And then I went home, and then my oncologist called on the phone. She's like, were you drinking? I'm like, I'm so sorry. She's like, it's okay. She said, but we may not be able to go ahead with chemo. And so I had to go back. So the day of my chemo, I went back. They retested my blood just to see how I was sitting. And I came up to the suite again. It's a small chemo suite. So I got to know the nurses quite well. And I'm like, well, I'm on the blood work walk of shame. I said, I may or may not have chemo today because I may or may not have drunk far too much wine. And they were pissing themselves laughing. And then so I sat there for a while we waited for the blood work to come back. And the one nurse came over and she says, well, we can go ahead at 50%. She goes, your liver levels are below severe. I'm like, oh,
below severe.
So yeah, so I did learn my lesson after that, and I did actually go. I proved to myself I could go cold turkey for 9 weeks.
Yeah,
so
but Ellen, you've been a brilliant guest, and we're just so happy that you finally made it onto the show.
Yeah, I am delighted to be. You know what? There's nothing like having a good laugh with a couple of girlfriends. It's the best medicine in the world, isn't it?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, lovely to meet you.
And lovely to meet you too. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Well, she was a fabulous guest, wasn't she? And I
Oh,
want to,
loved her.
I want to meet her husband with all those cars. I'm a bit of a car buff. So what was your first car, Estelle?
I know I've got visions of him like being like a Canadian Arthur Daly. Do you know what I mean? Remember him from Minder? Yeah, but talking about cars, yeah, first cars. What was
Yeah, mine
yours?
was a blue Mini. It
Oh
was
yeah.
really cool. It was an 850 and it had an enormous steering wheel. And I drove it, excuse me, I drove it across London. I thought it was really cool. And it broke down in the middle of Trafalgar Square. It was
Oh
this tiny little
God.
Mini. And it had a double-decker bus behind me and in front of me and on both sides. And I was about 20. I was freaking out. And a load of American tourists, who I'm forever grateful for, came and bump started me and
Yeah.
pushed the car. And literally, if I put my foot on the brake, it broke down. I had to kind of kangaroo all the way back to Clapham. And
Well, there's a sentence I didn't expect to hear this week.
yeah, and then one day I went out with my mates and we drove to the pub and I left my car there. And then the next day the police came around and they said, "Oh, we think your car's been broken into." And I went there and it was just like a tip with loads of cans and sweets and everything. And I said, "Oh, no." I said, "Oh yes, it looks like it has." Actually, it was just a complete tip. That's how I had my car when I was 20.
Oh, you absolute tramp.
I wasn't a tramp. I love that car,
Oh.
but it just literally fell to bits. It just literally disintegrated. Probably
Oh.
worth a fortune.
What year was that?
Late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, okay. There were some cracking cars in the 80s though, weren't there?
Oh,
Oh my
oh,
God. Yeah.
yes,
The
yeah.
the
Capri.
Ford Capri. I was
Yeah.
just gonna say the Ford Capri. I mean, my car has got a very long bonnet, and I often reference it. And I say, it's got a nose like a Capri. Do you know what I mean? Because they were really long
The
nose
first time I
cars.
met you, I had my car parked next to you, and I said, "Oh, that's a nice car, Estelle." You said, "Yeah, she's a guzzling bitch."
Yeah, she's nice looking, but she's thirsty, like that. A bit like myself. Right. Well, I can see Hamilton Brown shaking his keys, talking about cars. Have you seen what he drives?
I have, but I don't know what it's called. What's it called?
It's an XR3i. I think that was around in the 80s. It
Yeah, with his
literally looks like falling apart.
but he's got his big stereo system playing Euro pop out the back.
Oh, I know, yeah. I'm surprised the vibration doesn't basically shake all the doors off, to be honest with you. But
It's
yeah,
only the dirt holding it together, Estelle.
top tips from you then.
Yes. Well, I was young and crazy and free, not a kind of responsible mother like I am now. Yes.
Crazy and free. Is that what we call it? Oh well. Right, we're going. Stop shaking your keys. Right, guys, we've got to go. But before we go, how can people get in touch with us?
Well, through the website, through social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if you've got a
so-
story, just write to us at stories@tissytowers.com.
I forgot about the email.
Yeah, forgot to tell them.
My mind went completely blank.
But until next time, stay healthy, everyone. Bye.
Bye.